So this is a nematode. I think it's a bacterial feeding nematode. It's only because it has these two bulbs in its esophagus. It's moving, it's live. It's from Greenhide Reserve. He's just resting. It's been in a soil I collected a couple of days ago. And this sample was taken from the patch in the reserve that has leaf litter, and it was kind of like a ditch, so it was nice fresh organic matter. And the dugout bits of the reserve where people actually are digging up worms and leaving the soil exposed, it's looking very unhealthy. It has only bacteria in it. It's quite anaerobic. I think I've noticed 2 ciliates as well, so conditions were anaerobic already, dug out, left to sort of fend for itself and dry out. But this little guy brings me hope that the reserve actually has some good soil in it that is worth protecting. Just to give a full view of this beauty, and just to do a little bit of a scan up and down so we can see its tract. Oh, it's moving, you're moving, hello. Beautiful creature. Apparently nematodes like to rest. As these nematodes consume bacteria, they are actually releasing a lot of nutrients because the bacteria are filled with nitrogen, much higher concentration than the nematode, and that makes the nematode need to excrete the excess nitrogen, and then that is fed as ammonium to plants. So this is exactly how the food web functions, where the predators are eating all the smaller critters. It's all just about digestion and excretion, really. It's all about poo. Very cute, very beautiful. A nematode from Greenhide Reserve. From undisturbed soil. When the soil is undisturbed, all these creatures are allowed to live in it, and they're amazing. They serve this function. So nematodes, in this particular case, I think it's a bacterial feeding nematode. It's crunching those bacteria down, pumping down that waste, and excreting it for plants to feed on. Bacteria are really rich in nitrogen and other minerals and other nutrients, and when other organisms eat them, such as nematodes and protozoa, they excrete those nutrients, feeding plants. So it's a wonderful little system, and we need to protect these creatures in the soil and ensure that they exist in their soils in order to have a thriving plant life. So plants are totally dependent, and vice versa, on these organisms being present in the soil around their roots. And of course, without plants, these organisms cannot exist either, because there is no photosynthetic sugars given to the soil organisms to feed on. So life stops. So we just have to make sure that these guys are protected, looked after, and increased in numbers where need be, in order to restore our soils back to health, restore all ecosystems, agricultural systems, every single system. I think this is altogether another nematode in this sample, because that's close to the slide edge. So I think it's just another nematode example. So cool. He's beautiful. Look at his organs. It's a creepy thing to say, but it's got really cute organs. Very nicely organized. Probably again a bacterial feeder with that pumping mechanism there. Just seeing this movement here. It could be the same nematode that's crawled up actually, but we don't know. Look at the little bacteria he's trying to eat. Ah! I'm gonna get you. I think it's being eaten now. I'll try and get him to 400 times magnification right now too, just because it's really cool to be able to see him close up. Okay, so now magnifying at 400 times. It's vacuum cleaning bacteria. It looks maybe like a nematode egg. It's quite big. Maybe we can experience the birth of the nematode. There's definitely a little creature in there moving. I'm having a hunch that this is a nematode egg. Just wanted to find again the nematode egg and get a better view of it under 400 times magnification, because I realized it was so big I actually just only magnified it to 100 times and then I lost him. But it's definitely a nematode. Looks like a little snake in an egg. Beautiful. I wonder when it will hatch. This is the second nematode egg. So we have a different type of nematode here, just to focus on its mouth parts, just to see that it's got this bulbous head. Just wanted to show the difference between a small nematode, which is here, and let's see if I can find this giant nematode, which is here. I mean, the difference is astounding in size. So now I've just got those two nematodes under 100 times magnification so that we can see them compared side by side, the size of them. And I'm going to try and take a photo as well, see if that works. Well, this is an interesting unfolding of events. The little guy goes closer and closer, and watch out, you might be eaten. Some of these bigger nematodes probably feed also on smaller nematodes, predatory nematodes they are. He's definitely responding. He's moving along. Wow. You're a big nematode. It's the same sample that I was just looking at from Greenhide Reserve in the leaf litter mixed with soil. And this is, by the way, at 100 times mag, so if I was to magnify this guy at 400 times, it'd be huge. And I will do that shortly. But basically this sample has been standing in water now for probably an hour as I was looking through, if not more, as I was looking through the other sample. So I would expect all the organisms to be stressed and going anaerobic and not being very happy sitting there in water for so long without much oxygen being put through. So another interesting actually thing I've noticed is that when I took a sample from the top of the sample, so mixed in with water and just sucked up the brie from the top, I just saw bacteria and nothing really much else. Whereas with this one, I shook it all up, sucked it all up with a pipette, shook it all up and waited a little bit and then diluted it a tiny bit, and then we've got this result. So maybe these guys are not too unhappy living for some time in this sort of water that's going slowly anaerobic. But of course, you know, they're supposed to be in soil doing their thing, so wouldn't be surprised if they're not too entirely happy. But check this out. This amazing pumping mechanism in this big guy and his beautiful mouth parts. Just to see that a bit of more detail in the nematode. So we have this little mouth that's at the end, and the esophagus has got bulbs that are pumping like pumps. Let's see if I can, it looks like a heart pumping. Incredible. So he's quite a big organism, as you can see. It's quite large. Amazing ending he's got there. I wonder if it's like its reproductive organs or something. zoom in and out on that. So yeah, and this is the digestive system, I'm assuming, the intestines. Need to learn a little bit more about its nematodes, digestive systems, and etc. Everything else there is to learn. Be good to get an expert on nematodes to identify these for us. But nonetheless, I'll take some photos and we'll have a record of them, these guys. Okay, so normally when we see nematodes, when I see nematodes with the microscope, they usually wiggle like this. This is usually what I see a lot of, and it's really hard to take footage of when they wiggle like that and get them into focus. So I've been pretty lucky today in the one sample, pretty much just looking at different types of nematodes, it seems. Wriggle, wriggle, wriggle. Beautiful creatures, aren't they? Fascinating. I think it's another bacterial feeder with all these machinations that it has there for pumping. We also have a little flagellate in here. See this little bumbling creature here on the left, in the middle? And it's got a flagellum. So it has this long extension by which it propels itself. So these are also bacterial feeders. And they're a good sign to have these in the soil. So they're part of the protozoan kingdom. They're protozoa, so they're unicellular organisms, just one cell that is mobile and is able to consume large amounts of bacteria, and once again excrete the waste from the bacteria. By excreting the nitrogen waste, it allows plants to take up nitrogen that is bioavailable to the plants. So this is their main function. This is the main role of the protozoa in the soil ecosystem. He's cute. Little bumbly creature. So he's quite small, but you can see the bacteria are 1 micron. It's the bacteria in the background, so the tiny, tiny little dots that you see. So this flagellate is still quite small, and we've magnified him now 400 times. So there are 2 what appear to be dead nematodes. I've had enough being stressed. And there's a flagellate as well, with a long flagellum propelling it forward. So So 400 times magnification. Just want to show the flagellum. So you can see it's sticking out there in front of it. So once again, these are bacterial feeding beauties, and they excrete nitrogen once they eat bacteria and other excess nutrients that the bacteria has more of than the flagellate itself. It will just pull it all out, and this is great for the plants, giving bioavailable nutrients to the plant. Hello, it just handles these big rocks. Oh, big debris of organic matter, I should say. Another thing that's been found in this sample is a rotifer. Now these are multicellular creatures also. Just like nematodes, they are multicellular creatures. Look at its feeding, it's so cool. So I'm not sure, I think they also live in soils and water. They're kind of all-rounders, organisms that live quite extensively. I thought they were actually larvae of some insects to start with, but have since inquired and found out that these are actually called rotifers, and it means a wheel spinning sort of a way of feeding. So they've got cilia at the tip of their mouth, and as they go by they sort of filter with these projections from their mouth, just circling and sort of filtering food into their mouth. So I'll get a closer look at this guy with a 400 times magnification. At the moment we're on 100, so that's really cool to find. I'm not sure. I think possibly they sort of live in more anaerobic conditions, and this would make sense because this water body has been sitting there now for a little while with this soil inside, so he might have been in a cyst form waiting, and water came up, anaerobic conditions, opportunity came up, and it hatched or sort of stopped insisting, and and the adult form sort of came back to life. I don't know if any of this is true, but that's just like a story I'm sort of thinking about could be happening. Okay, cool. So what I'll do now is go to 400 times magnification so we can have a closer look of this gorgeous creature. Okay, so now we're magnifying at 400, and here he is in all his glory. Feeding, munching, biting. I don't know, I thought they just filter through with those cilia, but I'm not sure. It's very difficult to see the mouth parts, but you know, let's just trust experts that have suggested that these are rotifers. Yeah, I can see the cilia at the mouth now. Definitely. Yep, it's a rotifer. So you can see this really fast movement at the tip of its mouth with these projections, tiny little projections, little spikes moving and circling. Wonderful little creature you are. It's so mesmerizing.